want me to put it up there?
We can put it right there, right up
Yeah,
there.
let's right there so everybody can see it.
Trailer and
Don't move it.
go.
I'm not.
But I'll be honest with you too, but I'll do.
Are you, see when the final stickers are in? I just haven't been over there to pick them up. Final stickers? For the new maps, they're vinyl stickers and you just have to put them on cardboard. Oh, yeah.
You gotta, you just can't find anybody.
Stacy, you can just roll that up. We've got new ones coming, so.
Well, it's got this.
And a friend that lives
You think that's close?
to Alana.
It doesn't, I brought it upstairs.
Do the work right there.
That was Bay County Boat Yard.
This is
Yeah.
a,
But what's the name of that guy that
Who's the
did
engineer around there?
What school was that?
I don't know that
Oh my
when you go to the range, sometimes
He's
you
got
just
a
have to
big
be
shop.
like,
Across the road from Bacon.
I don't know. I haven't been down there and I haven't been down there since Roger sold.
But I think he might do. Yeah, I'll check that out.
Yeah,
That's not one of,
do what?
that's not one of Bobby's paintings, is it? $200,000?
Yeah, there's like they put them up on a hard stand and work it yourself, but that was no Robert. He sold it.
Every, this is all. But yes. Exactly.
Did you see the craziness with all those kids running around the neighborhood Saturday? You weren't there.
It's,
That's okay. I'll come back another day. Bless their heart, hopefully. At the end? You don't have to do that. I can come another day.
in her.
You behave, Bill, for 6 years.
She lives on Strasburg. He can come all the way around to the like she was first come down. Thank you for coming. She's right there. Yeah, it is checky. It gets it did okay.
We're boring.
You always kind of like Zen yoga.
Real close.
If you get on your trailer, call the guy over there. Call section.
We approved it by now.
Not hard. Can't remember the names.
Oh, it's the one on the corner by the tracks.
Right. What's your call? I can't remember that now. Yeah.
They sell tons.
They sell it
I don't go to Park Marine.
What? Not everybody. Maybe they got old and I don't know what they look like old. I don't know.
I tiled all the way there.
Well, that's the most important thing he's doing today.
He can go to work today, so that probably is the most important thing. He played, he had a thing or whatever. It lasted all like 20 minutes. Play video games the rest of the day. Like, you do you, boo. Enjoy your day.
And they paid him.
And they paid him for that. PTO day.
I love it. My son worked for a company out in Texas, and they were that way. They would boss was like in Illinois or somewhere, and they give him something to do, and he'd finish it in 30 minutes. And then they wouldn't give him anything else to do, so he just sat there and played the game. Now, he eventually got to change jobs, but
It's real fast. It does. You wouldn't think it. You want to see productive. Contribution of some sort.
right. Well, anyhow, he changed jobs and he's now working Saturdays and Sundays.
Oh, no. No, he's really working.
And it's caught up to him, so there he goes.
Huh? Can you hear me now?
Gulf Marine. Gulf Marine. No, he actually found it.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I forgot.
I'll be the keeper of it.
You be fan.
If you need to move it,
Mr. Chappell said a minute ago it felt very comfortable.
I should turn it over so they can do that.
I specifically wore
you'll need it turned over.
so that I
You just need to get yourself a fan. It blows over
do.
there.
You know what? I have one at the house. I could put it underneath here and plug it in.
Hit the button.
I did.
Kim did.
Are we ready?
That's what I'm talking about.
I'd like to call the public meeting of Parker City Council to order at 5:30 p.m. February 21st, 2023. Would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Chappell.
Here.
Ms. Galbraith? Here. Ms. Gibson?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Barrow?
Here. I'd like to ask the council if they would, if we could get a motion to add number 6 to our agenda for Mr. Chappell.
I will make a motion to add Mr. Chappell's announcements.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you call roll, please?
Mr. Chappell?
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith? Yes. Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Barrow?
Yes.
You want the invitation?
We're gonna do that next. I forgot about it, but I want to go get that on. If you stand for the invocation, please.
Let's bow our heads, please. Father, we come to you again and say thank you for this wonderful city, wonderful state, and wonderful nation, God, that we live in. We have the privilege to come to you and ask you for your guidance, wisdom, God, as we deliberate, God, things for this city to make it better. We ask you to be with us tonight, God, be with every council member, God, and be with everyone who speaks, God. Let peace be in the house. These things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we have items from the audience. If there's anyone here that would like to come to the podium and speak about something that is not on the agenda, please come state your name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Pam Dugan. I live at 5423 Lance Street. And I have seen that there's going to be repavement on, is it Lake, over by the school?
Mhm.
There's been a lot of utility work done on Lance. And so the road is very torn up. And I'm curious if that road is going to be repaved. When pavement was done a number of years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago, we were told that they ran out of money and couldn't pave Lance. And so it was never paved previously. And now that they've done all this utility work, almost at every other house, the road is torn up on one side of the road. And I'm just curious what it would take to get that part of, Lance is not, it's 2 or 3 blocks long. It's not a very long road, but what it would take to get that back on to be repaved.
Mr. Summerlin, could you speak on that for us, please?
Lance is in one of the roads that the infrastructure and the council has approved to be paved. Ms. Moore will be able to speak on that a little more, but it's fixing to go out to bid within the next week or two, but it is one of the roads being paved with late.
Thank you so much.
And the reason, just like, the reason all the holes are there is because every water line to every house was changed before we paved the road, so we don't have the road destroyed later.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Summerlin. Does anyone else have, anything to bring to the council?
Cynthia Rosso, 1440 Dover Road. Just want to make sure this is working, because I found out that the February 7th public comment section where I spoke was cut out.
So it wasn't cut out, I just didn't turn it on until
Right.
my husband texted me, but yes, ma'am, it is on, and this has recorded gavel to gavel at every meeting.
Okay. So at that public comment section on February 7th, I had posed a question to the mayor about when Mr. Patterson was designated as fire chief of Parker. And he indicated that I missed a meeting. So I made a public records request to find the minutes where Mr. Patterson was voted on by the city council to become fire chief. And all I got back from the city clerk was September 20th minutes, but there's nothing in these minutes that say, or a motion was made only for a 40-hour paid firefighter position. So there's nothing in the minutes here that I could see that the fire chief, or Mr. Patterson was designated as a fire chief. And it does say in our city charter that the city council has to appoint the fire chief. So that wasn't done, and I'd like the city council to, make good on that, and they have to do a background investigation. I have no qualms against Mr. Patterson. I don't know him. I'm glad that he wants to serve us, but I think those important things need to happen by the city. Also, I want to comment on the February 7th agenda item to discuss what I thought was strategic plans, but it turned out to be a shopping spree on how the city wanted to spend ARPA money. First of all, the ARPA money was to help cities counter the negative financial impact COVID had, not the hurricane, as the mayor stated. Also, too, did the city council know that the Department of Treasury requires each city to hold public meetings informing its citizens that it has X amount of dollars, ARPA dollars, and to get input from citizens on how that money is to be spent? That did not happen in Parker. I believe it was an accident that the people attending the February 7th meeting got a copy of a spreadsheet of how the city departments wanted to spend the ARPA money. While I appreciate Stacy and April pushing back on spending all the money on items listed on that spreadsheet, they still allowed the purchase of a trash truck, 2 city police cars, money for 2 road projects, and 3 public restrooms. But the mayor says he wants to run the city like a business, but in a business, you need to provide a summary of the project, why we need it, go out and get competitive bids to make sure you're getting the best price, show an invoice to prove that is the cost of the item. The city council should have required the city department heads to report what other sources of funding they already have, or at least had department heads seek other grant money to help pay for items.
Thank you, Ms. Rosso. Your 3 minutes is up. Does anyone else like to speak?
I'd like to give my 3 minutes, let her finish her, what she was talking about. You can't do that?
It's not like you can defer your 3 minutes. If you want to speak for 3 minutes, you can.
Okay. Diane Coates, 1521 Dover Road. Did we get the 2 police cars that he had to have immediately the next day? Miss Barrow?
Yes, we did.
You did? Okay. I was just...
Yeah, we got both, 2 of them, one of them.
Chief is in the back.
Okay.
So we did take delivery of the 1 patrol car.
Yeah, 1.
And we are going to pick up the other one tomorrow morning. So we're leaving here at 4 in the morning to go down and pick that one up.
Where'd they come from? I thought it was in town.
Well, we attempted to get those vehicles from here locally in town through the state contract.
Yeah.
However, they sold them before the council was able to have its meeting, so we had to then outsource them to another dealership. One of them came from Arcadia, and the other one's coming from Brendan Ford Place.
Were they both then totaled up?
There doesn't need to be a dialogue here.
Am I supposed to be standing up?
Yes, ma'am.
So the price that we have so far is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $112,000.
Oh, instead of the
For
one.
the purchases of the vehicles, because the equipment that we have to put in there as far as sirens, lights,
Yeah.
the transportation cage, those types of items. So we're somewhere in the neighborhood of about $112,000 currently. That does not include the title fees that we have to do. It doesn't include the transportation for us having to go down and pick them up.
Where are they?
Well, one was in Arcadia, which is almost down in Miami.
Yeah.
So we met them in Bartow, which is where the other vehicle was at, that we originally purchased in 2022, that finally was delivered, so we brought that one back. And so that's B47. And then the other one we're going to pick up tomorrow. It's a pickup truck. It's going to be used for investigations. It doesn't require all of the other equipment that a patrol car requires, because we're not going to be transporting prisoners in there.
Oh, so you got a truck and a squad,
Yes.
and the whole total that was done before with all the equipment on the two cars was $120,000 that the council agreed to?
It's less than.
Super. So that's $8,000 back in your pocket for the council.
To some degree, there may be some other equipment that we're gonna have to purchase as far as computer stands, so we're still looking at that.
And the reason the truck was bought was because of why?
Well, mainly because it could be used for clandestine operations. We can use it for storm situations for law enforcement. We had some issues where our Explorers, even though they're all-wheel drive, when we had the rising water issues, the car started floating.
Yeah.
Where the truck has a higher wheelbase,
Yeah,
and
they
we
do.
can go through deeper water without damaging the vehicle, and those types of things. So those are what we were looking at for vehicles. Currently, we only have one in the police department.
Thank you. Think it was a good deal. Save some money.
Pat Fosick, 1344 Stratford. Just a follow-up question, because you mentioned that we took delivery of a vehicle that we bought in 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
So when we bought it without ARPA money, we bought it with some other funding, now we're using the ARPA money to pay for it? I mean, what was the initial plan for the purchase of that?
So what happened
Thank you.
is, in 2021, in March of 2021, the city council agreed to purchase a patrol car. So we put the purchase in. Because of the pandemic, the computer chip crisis, all the Connex boxes sent in the Pacific Ocean coming from China that couldn't be delivered, it created this huge backlog on getting the equipment to install into the vehicle. So they were able to secure us a 2022 Explorer when we ordered it, and then the rest of it was the delay of being able to get all of the equipment, the $14,000 some odd piece of equipment into that car so that they could deliver it. This is a problem that law enforcement agencies are having all over the place. It is not just, Little Old Parker. What makes it a problem for Little Old Parker is that we usually buy like one car every couple of years. We're not buying 29 patrol cars like some of the other cities do, and they get first dibs instead of us because they're a bigger account, if you want to call it that. But so that money was actually in the budget that was approved by the city council in that fiscal year. ARPA does allow for the purchase of emergency vehicles. So there was a caveat or whatever for the ability to use ARPA money to purchase, emergency vehicles. So that's why we were looking at using that.
Okay, I guess that explains it, but ARPA was approved, I believe, in April of 22 or April of 21? Okay, April of 21. So when the vehicle was purchased in March of 22, that would have been the 21-22 fiscal year.
Yes.
So somewhere in the 21-22 budget, that money would have been set aside from city coffers?
Yes.
That's all I'm trying to find
Yes.
out, so.
Yes, it was purchased by the city's coffers, so, the way we were looking at it is that the $70-some thousand that was originally designated to pay a third party to do the land development regulations, since the planning commission and city council did the work along with the, rewrite with the attorney, the city was able to save a lot of that money, and that is where the majority of the cost or the funding to pay for that car in that fiscal year. So it did come from the monies that we had. It was originally designated for something else, but we didn't spend it on that, so it was then reallocated to purchase that vehicle.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm glad he's here. And maybe just something that we've learned or that I've learned from going to other meetings. Although we're not a big community and we're not going to be buying 29 vehicles, I understand from Panama City that we can piggyback. If they're making orders for vehicles, we can piggyback on their order. We can piggyback on an order for Tampa. So there's ways if we're networking that we could get the volume discount.
To go with what you're saying there is that the dealerships bid each year. Like for instance, Dodge or Ram did not bid for their trucks in the year 2022 or 2023. So you could not buy a Dodge truck on the state contract. So what happens is the Department of Management Services through the state of Florida takes bids from all of the major motor vehicle manufacturers, and they agree on a certain price that they will sell the vehicles to fleets for government use. So we purchase those vehicles at that government contract price. So there is no need to renegotiate it or anything like that, because we're not going to be able to get a better deal than what the state of Florida is going to get, where all the sheriff's vehicles are buying theirs, and all the other police departments and all the other cities, because they get the same price we do.
Yeah,
We just don't
that.
buy 29 at one time, we just buy one every now and again.
But I guess that's my question. If the state is buying, let's say collectively 100 vehicles this year, can we add 101 and get
Yes,
ours
and
much
that is
more
exactly
quickly?
what happens. So as the governing body here,
Our 3 minutes is up.
okay,
Sorry.
I'll explain it to you later if you'd like.
Thank you very
Okay.
much for being here. It's very beneficial.
Is there anyone else like to speak? Having none, we'll move on to the first agenda item, and it's Heritage Funeral Home request for variance. Is anyone here for that? So they're not here? When there's no one here, council, do we need to vote on that?
We need a motion to table.
I'll make a motion to table agenda item number 1.
Second.
Do I need to give a date to table it to? It's been going on a while, so.
Almost a year.
Till the next meeting, and if
To the
not
next
then,
meeting.
then we'll not worry about it after then. We got a motion and a second. Take the vote, please.
Mr. Chappell?
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith?
Yes.
Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Burrow?
Yes. Okay, the second item is parcel division 4718 East 6th Street, Masters.
I would like to separate my house from the piece of property next door. And I think you already have all the paperwork on it.
So if I remember correctly, if we split it into 2 parcels, it fits the land size. She'll still be in non-compliance because it has a duplex,
No,
but
it
will
said
fit
it-
a land size, right?
Excuse me, it says advised to only divide in 2 parcels. And that's what you had said, and I'm trying to do it at least 1. You said I could, as you advised me to do 2 parcels.
Right.
So I'm trying to do my house separate.
So splitting it into 2 it will fit the lot size requirement of the
Yes.
LDR, correct?
I have not reviewed that. Jamie, do you?
Do you recall?
It says, to see to purchase the homeowner policy, yeah, but that's, from my understanding, that I could have done it in 2. I had asked for 3, but I could do for 2.
She has to
So I'm
trust
asking
us
for
on the
1
other
tonight, to just
Right.
take my house off of that property.
On
Okay.
on the paperwork, it says
she's open to-
approximate lot size 700, 7920 square feet.
Okay, so it still meet, it will
It'll
meet
be
the
within
lot
the lot
requirement,
size,
just
yes.
not the.
For a
okay.
single family home, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. There's
So-
3 houses on that lot.
But that's never
But-
going to be fixed unless we
No.
tear the home down, so.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the lot split into 2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you take the vote, please?
Mr. Chapel?
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith?
Yes.
Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Borough?
Yes. You good?
Thank you.
Okay. Where's my paper? The, well, I didn't got it. I lost my, we'll go to the, I lost my paper here.
Are we, are,
Stormwater
did we
plan
miss
next, I
minutes?
think that's Ms.
We didn't
Moore.
approve the minutes.
Oh, we didn't we? We weren't, I'm getting bad as the mayor. but- Okay, well, we'll go back, real quick and we need a motion and a second to, do the minutes either, as presented or with any changes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes as shown.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you take the vote, please?
Mr. Chapel?
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith?
Yes.
Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Borough?
Yes. Okay. Let's go to number 3, Stormwater Master Plan discussions. Anchor and council, that'd be Ms. Moore.
Good evening, Elizabeth Moore with Anchor CEI. I wanted to present, I keep referring to it as a master plan, but I intentionally renamed this in the proposal that we gave to the city council and on the actual report as a capital improvements plan. It's not quite as detailed as a true master plan would be, so this is more of a general overview of our recommendation based on the information that we've received and the information that we gathered as to how the city could proceed with stormwater improvements. And basically, we put together this report by a multitude of different directions. We met extensively with city staff. We came out extensively after rain events. We looked at it, we collected a lot of data from GIS. We collected a lot of data from field exploration, and we're talking with different people throughout the city. And then we gathered all that data together. We described the problems as we saw them and as we were told, and we put together a list of the projects. And then once we created that list of projects, we then evaluated them based on several criteria. One was the cost of the project, one was the proximity to the bay or some other outfall, and then also the severity of the flooding. Based on our experience, we weighted each of those different criteria and applied it to the list of projects that we had. And we came up with a list in the end, let's see how many projects we ended up with. It was about 13 projects, and we ranked all of those. And the intent of this capital improvements plan is to kind of help the city kind of prioritize the different areas, to show the city where there's issues, and to kind of get an idea of what it's going to cost. I see this as a very fluid list of projects that, as the city changes, this priority list may change as well. But it's a starting point so that the city can start tackling these projects as the funding becomes available and as the opportunities become available. So, but I'm here to answer any questions that the council may have based on this report.
You want me to go, April?
Go ahead, you go first. You probably have the same questions I do, but.
Okay, so to clarify, on page 5.3, where you list the projects, just to clarify, you're saying that Lake Drive, total weighted at 420, that's where you see the most important need, to 250 being
the least.
Not really the least.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
On
okay.
this list, though, at least.
Okay.
Yes.
So, thank you for doing the plan, because I'm the one that requested it. So, I also would like to, when I asked for it initially, I think you kind of answered this a minute ago, it was for you to kind of give us a starting point of where we needed to begin, but how, can you tell us maybe a percentage of our overall projects that you think that this might capture?
Well, I will actually say that since we put this report together, Tony and I talked, and there is one more area that does need to be added to this. But I've thought a lot about that as far as this report goes. These are and from what I've seen, these are the most important, highest priority projects. But I think what you'll see that happens is as you take care of these, other ones are going to arise. So again, it's kind of a fluid project. So I think it is going to be difficult for you to say, it's a line in the sand basically. It's kind of like where do you stop? Based on what I've seen, I do think that this takes care of the majority of the large projects, and part of the reason why we put one of the criteria as distance to the outfall is because we wanted to start at the bottom, so that if you didn't correct this problem up here, you wouldn't create another problem down here. This way, if you start from the bottom, then as you fix the problems from the bottom down, then you know you're not creating another problem somewhere else. But I do think that as you go through and tackle these projects, you're going to see more. But I do feel like that this is the majority of the current problems.
Okay, except for one you said. What was the other one you felt like we needed to add?
It was Lakewood.
North Lakewood.
Lakewood, yes, North Lakewood. And there's also some projects that aren't listed in here because I felt like the city already had either tackled those, and we need to see how those projects are going to work. Or, for example, the 11th Street walking park and pond, that one has already been funded as well. So that one's really underway. So some of those are not included because I felt like they were already being tackled by the city. So.
Okay, a few of the projects had things that we had to actually needed to change out, piping or this or that, but they also included just clean out of ditches or drainage. Would it be beneficial to at least start that portion of the project, or not until we start actually replacing the pipes and things?
That's kind of up to your city staff. I think they are going through and taking care of the projects that they can as their staffing and as their funds allow. So I think that they are, and I think this helps with that roadmap. I don't think Tony wants to expound on that anymore, but I think they are actually going through. Some of these actually I had to take out as we were going through the master plan because some of them had already been addressed. So.
Okay.
And we are currently following that list. She's got under cleaning and digging.
Okay.
We are going by her list. Some of the areas we had already done prior to this list, but with all the rain events, we're having to redo again. But we are going by her list and crossing off and checking all those areas that we can do ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
That pretty much covered everything. I guess the one thing that I had mentioned was, you know, this isn't the comprehensive plan because we don't have, you know, 1.2 million to do a whole stormwater assessment and on a full scale. But Tony, do you feel like this is enough to get you started and to really focus on what you need to work on to, you know, alleviate the major problems in the city?
Yes, I mean there's more work in that plan than the staff can handle even right now. So we're going to do as much of it as we can, and then like I said, hopefully with the stormwater pond comes on, that'll really help. And then like I said, we'll start going down the projects and as her priority in that, try to work through them with funding.
So I had this question earlier. With the work that you've already done, where you've been clearing ditches and doing all of the things that you've been doing over off of Lance and Arrow and 11th and all that area, the last major rain that we had, when I drove through, I was fully expecting it to hit the, you know, door high, and I'm seeing progress on your end. Like I see the difference of one little, you know, 2-inch rain, and there would be some of these houses where they'd have to put the sandbags out. So
the problem is after every rain event comes more erosion, comes more fill in, and then like I said, we can clean a whole ditch. I think they were working all down 11th Street today, but if we had a rain event tomorrow, half that work could have to be readdressed because of open ditches and the runoff.
Okay.
So this was not included in our 5 to 10 year plan, and we meet on that later in the week. Is it possible to have these numbers added before Thursday? Is that too much to ask? Okay.
And some of the things like he talked about as far as stabilizing different drainage ways and things like that, those are some things that we have in there as far as like maybe trying to pave those and doing a little bit more to help so that they aren't after every rain event coming back and having to address
closing in
it.
the ditches
Well,
and that
this
kind of thing.
is one thing I'll challenge y'all maybe before Thursday to look is if you look at Lynn Haven just went through this armoring of your ditches, and that was one thing I was proposing is, it's been all over the news, and like I said, it's basically just a cement armoring mat that they line down the ditch, and it cures in place, and that'll stop with erosion, and it'll stop with all the buildup and everything, but it's just something that Parker might wanna try. It's a whole lot cheaper than piping in the ditches.
And it's more effective too. And that's similar to what they did at Earl Gilbert too, is the concrete mattress, so, anyway. And then we are also working through the grant process for this project as well. Being a state grant, there is a lot of paperwork, but we are working diligently to get through that, and so hopefully that will be moving forward, and you'll be able to see more progress on that as well.
Okay, before you leave, off the stormwater plan, there's been a lot of questions come up recently about some of the work that you guys are working on. Can you give us maybe an update on Lake Drive from your perspective, and also on the holding pond right there at the end of Cherry Lane?
Yes, so we did submit today, so he hasn't had a chance to look at them. So we did submit today our most up-to-date plans for Lake Drive. That does include Lance, Thornton, Arrow, Boat Race, there we go. I can picture in my head, but I got their names wrong. But anyway, there's several other resurfacing projects that are in there that we have submitted to the city staff to go ahead and review so that we can update those. So that, once we get those comments back, it shouldn't take us long at all to incorporate those projects. Is that me? To incorporate those projects.
I hear it, but I don't know what it is.
Is it maybe?
Okay. To incorporate those projects and then get it bid out. So I would say certainly within the month we'll have that advertised, hopefully before. So that's the Lake Drive project, and then also we have been talking with the Bay District Schools, and we have seen the contract that they are working on with the local contractor. If that work hasn't started yet, we do anticipate that Bay District Schools will start with their retention pond and some other changes within their stormwater system to also help remove some of the stormwater that's being dumped onto Lake Drive currently. So that's one project. The Cherry Lane, which is this lot right here that the city purchased a while back, the state grant that was applied for and awarded to the city. We actually asked them if they would incorporate the purchase price of that lot to help also alleviate flood. They said they would. We still don't have all the paperwork finalized with it, but they did say that because of the timing of the grant and when that property was purchased, that they would be able to reimburse the city for that, and also for the engineering fees associated with the design of that pond in conjunction with the larger pond. We do anticipate also with that money, with the design funds, putting together a conceptual plan for the pump station in that area to also help alleviate some of the stormwater or wastewater capacity issues that your collection system is currently experiencing. So I know that there are some concerns about the groundwater table of that lot. When the city asked Anchor to evaluate it, y'all had like 2 days to make a decision on it because of the offer. So we didn't have time to get geotech to determine the exact elevation of the water table. We of course knew it was high, so we looked at some survey data that we had gotten on another project, and we went out there and evaluated the site, and based on our opinion, we do believe that there is some available capacity in that lot for stormwater. It's not going to solve all of the problems for that general square mile area, but we felt like it would actually alleviate some of the problems, and it would certainly be better than putting a house there, which would only exacerbate the problem. So we came up with a conceptual design to berm it up a little bit and then pipe it out to the ditch, which is about 3 or 4 feet lower than the actual what our conceptual design showed. So again, it's not going to solve all the problems, but we did feel like, based on the short amount of time that we had to evaluate it and the fact that you are going to get reimbursed for it, that it would provide some stormwater assistance in that area. So,
okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
Can we ask questions now?
Yes, sir.
You can stay there. Thank you.
You need to come to the podium.
Joe Huffbauer, 5033 Sharon Drive. On the ponds here in particular, I was wondering, when you did your review, did you look at the FDEP groundwater investigations in that area for the contamination and whether there'd be an impact on the ponds?
Yes, we did 2 separate environmental evaluations of it, and we determined that there was a potential for some, but the recommendation was to, they gave us recommendations for how to remove the soil. So.
Okay. But I think the Parker mayor wanted to turn that stormwater pond into a fishing tournament at some time. Would
Hadn't
you?
heard that.
do
Wouldn't
you-
recommend it.
Wouldn't recommend it? Okay.
Well, just because, as you know, DEP typically doesn't like for you to fish in their ponds. So,
Okay.
this one would be a little bit different. We understand this is gonna be a retrofit, so it will be a little bit different, but it is still, going to be considered a stormwater
Okay.
facility.
Is there any concern about, this is a major thoroughfare, that we would end up with any spills or anything that would get into the groundwater, which would infect people's use of irrigation water?
Talk about for the pump station?
Yeah.
If anything, this is going to alleviate, the potential for that, so it's going to help that tremendously.
It's gonna take
reduce
it out.
Well, I never say it eliminates, I just say it will help reduce.
Okay, so we don't have to worry too much about spills and concerns there.
You always have to worry about it, but this is gonna help it.
All right, I trust her. I like her. Thank you.
Did you, she's got a question.
Yeah, I just, Pat Fosick, 1344 Stratford. I wanted to say thanks. I reviewed the project. It was very informative. I learned a lot. I did have a couple of questions that I wanted to share with the council and maybe ask that they be provided, included with the minutes, rather than try to discuss them here. Some of the specific of the various projects. One of the things that was mentioned, for example, is that this estimate was based on historical information, which is all we have to go from. Obviously, we've got supply chain issues and inflation. I didn't know if there would be some sort of multiplier that we could use to try to estimate what the true costs would be. I think that's something that the council should consider. And then lastly, will there be a workshop open to the citizens to discuss this before the decisions are made as to which projects we tackle? Thank you.
Did you already use the multiplier when you came up with the dollar value?
We included a contingency, yes. I think it was 30%, but let me double check. And it's as things, I think we included it in the actual original analysis, like for our cost estimating purposes. So yes, but we did. But that's correct. I mean, all of these will have to be refreshed, but in my opinion, as I've said before many councils in the past, is engineers can only rely on historical information. The best way to find out how much it's going to cost is to put it out to bid and see how much it's going to cost, because that's the only way to know. So, but yes, I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Item number 4, we got a second reading, possible adoption of ordinance relating to ad valorem taxes, but first we're gonna have a public hearing. I open that now for if anyone has anything to ask or discuss, please come to the podium. I ask again, is anyone like to discuss anything?
Sorry. Pat Fosick, 1344 Stratford. So as I understand it, what we're doing here is we're changing the charter so that we can be consistent with the Florida Constitution that allows the council or allows the city to assess an ad valorem tax. That being said, will there be another workshop or another meeting to discuss what that tax limit will be? When I raised this question previously about the charter being inconsistent with what the council had done, Mr. Sloan indicated that the council was allowed because of the Florida Constitution change, and indicated at that time, well, we don't know if it's gonna be 3.8, is it gonna be a little more, is it gonna be a little less? So now that's up in the air. Will there be a workshop and or public involvement once the council sits down to determine what that ad valorem will be?
That'll be done whenever we do our budget and decide whether we do need that amount or if we need less.
Okay, perfect. And
But that'll be in like September, I think.
perfect, thank you for that. And we had also discussed, I think Ms. Galbraith brought it up when we were first talking about this, the oversight committee of the citizens to see how that money is spent if it is indeed assessed. I would just make that request here. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything to say? Ask? Okay.
I will make a motion for the second reading of ordinance 2023-412.
We have a motion. We have motion and a second. Would you take the vote, please?
Mr. Chapel? Ms. Galbraith?
Yes.
Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Barrow?
No.
Ordinance number 2023-412, an ordinance of the City of Parker, Florida, amending certain provisions of the City of Parker Charter relating to ad valorem taxes providing for severability, providing a mechanism for the correction of scrivener's errors, providing for the liberal construction of this ordinance, providing a repealer clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, we need a,
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2023-412.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Would you take the vote, please?
Mr. Chapel?
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith?
Yes.
Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Borough?
No. Okay, number 5, resolution 2023-390 relating to advertising.
Yes, ma'am. This resolution stems from a recent change of the Florida law, basically that became effective January the 1st of 2023. And it allows for the use of the county website as a purpose for the publication notices of the city and legal advertisements. And so this resolution would allow the city to use that mechanism, and then there's also, I believe, a notice that has to be published once a year that's in the packet also. So so the clerk and I are presenting you with a proposed resolution 2023-390 to authorize the publication on the county website.
And the updated version was stapled to your agendas.
I'd like a motion to move forward with the ordinance.
The resolution.
Resolution.
You want to read? You want
Make
to
a motion that we
read the
read.
resolution?
We read the resolution for the advertising.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you take the vote, please?
Mr. Chapel?
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith?
Yes.
Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Borough?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-390, a resolution for the City of Parker, Florida, authorizing publication of city notices on a publicly accessible website as an alternative to newspaper publication, directing annual notice by newspaper publication of alternative means of receiving city notices, providing for maintenance of the registry of persons desiring receipt of city notices by first-class mail or email, directing that the link to the notice website be conspicuously posted on the city's website, and providing an immediately effective date. So now you need a motion to adopt.
Make a motion to adopt the resolution for advertising.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you take the vote, please?
Mr. Chapel?
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith?
Yes.
Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Borough?
Yes.
And it's already on our website, and we actually advertised this on it.
Jenny, what do you think ballpark, do you have an idea of what we spent last year on newspapers?
I don't. It was in the I can look it up though.
Okay.
I know land use change is $800 every time we do it.
Wow.
Some of
Okay.
that has been defrayed by the
Yes.
applicants
Yes.
who would be
That's right,
requesting
yeah.
the small scale amendments.
Okay, we're good. Mr. Chapel, you're next.
Yes. I'd like to see the chief of police and our chief of fire department up front here. This past week, we had a chili cook-off over in the Parker Lodge. And just to show that our people here in Parker are dedicated to help with the lodge, I presented them with a plaque showing that appreciation for them trying out the chili. I don't know if any of them got burnt, I did not, but
Mr.
that
Chapel,
just
can
shows you that our people here in Parker are doing things, and it's,
I'm about to
we
freeze
had a
to
good
death.
turnout.
Jesus Christ.
And we do it every year. It's a fundraiser for us. The money we receive goes to Parker School. We do a monthly donation to them for their exceptional children that does something good that month, and we give them a certificate for that and a prize. And we also, donate to, Salvation Army. So, that's what the money that we raise, that's one of the things, or two of the things that we do for the, citizens. So, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, task list is up next.
We can check something off the task list finally.
No. No way.
Stormwater master plan.
Yay! Okay.
Okay, 5-year and 10-year plan, we're gonna be talking about that Thursday. Procedural manual.
Get it to you for review it's a draft for the next council meeting.
Okay.
Can I see it?
It's really just our procedures. It's not, I mean, I can't put it together that quick.
So instead of having it at this meeting, we're gonna have it at the 1st March?
I'll get it to, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
User fees.
I think we had talked about doing a workshop on that, didn't we?
That's what we said at the last meeting. I gave the fees to you. I put them in your boxes, and you said you were gonna set up a workshop.
So could we maybe do the workshop for the procedural manual and the user fees? And knock it out?
Well, I'd prefer we do it at a different time, cause that might turn into a long meeting anyway.
With the user fees?
Yeah,
There's a lot of them on there.
yeah, so. We can just make another date for another meeting, or another workshop for that.
So we'll do a separate meeting for the procedural manual? And then, is that what we're gonna do?
Maybe when we come on Thursday, we can set aside some time to just set some workshops up for the next couple of
That's a
months.
great
Maybe
idea.
we need 1 or 2 a month until we get through some of these things on our
We need
list.
Mayor here too. So
Yeah,
he can
so-
do the
Yeah,
dates.
so we'll know if he can make it.
So do you
The
just
dates
want
on
the
it.
procedural manual documents sent to you, and then we can set up a workshop?
Yeah,
based on
no,
it? They
we
don't need to be
can
on the
go
agenda?
over
Okay.
them and then.
Please, I would like to see it before we try to talk about it, yeah.
Yeah.
Zoning changes, Ms. Gilbert?
I have no update on it yet.
Okay. And grant matter.
That was in the mayor's court.
Last meeting, you said we're gonna discuss it on the workshop on the 23rd.
Okay.
And he was supposed to reach out to, the city of Panama City Beach, and I'm not sure if he did that yet.
That was on the 17th, you said that.
Okay, does any council member, Mr. Chapel, do you have anything that you want to discuss?
Nothing except for the, Easter egg, planning committee having a meeting at, Parker Lodge at 5 o'clock, on the 23rd. And, we've already had one meeting, and this is just to see what else we need, and, I think everything's looking pretty good, so.
And we're gonna set down the time, yeah? We'll set down the time.
At 5 o'clock?
I mean, we'll pick the time for the hunt. The Easter egg hunt. We'll pick the time.
Pick the time for the Easter egg hunt at that meeting, she's saying. Are you gonna pick the time for what time y'all decide to have the Easter egg hunt at the
Yeah.
meeting on Thursday?
Well, I think we've already pretty well decided. We're gonna go over it again and stuff like that.
Okay.
We got some time yet, but we did get 1,000 eggs from, one of our citizens. And, within that egg group, there was, 25 golden eggs. And we're gonna discuss what we do with the golden eggs and all of that, so.
I think Ms. Hutto said she had some, she forgot them, but she's gonna bring them to you. Okay, Ms. Galbraith.
I have nothing.
What?
So, again, we're having the Easter egg, if anybody wants to volunteer, it's 5:30, we're doing it at the.
He said
5
5.
o'clock at the Masonic Lodge on Thursday. So So if anybody wants to volunteer, you know,
We're
your
gonna-
input, be great.
A little later on, we'll need volunteers to stuff the eggs with candy and, money and some paper that we're gonna, get some gift certificates from McDonald's and, Hardee's, I guess it was. And, so if y'all wanna come out and see what we're gonna do, we're hoping for a big crowd. We had, last year we had about 800 eggs and they went real fast. So, one of the things we'll talk about is 1,000 eggs gonna be enough or do we need more, so.
So I have one more thing. I know it's election season. Everybody's qualified and it's all, you know, in the books. And I understand that camps are forming around the various candidates and, you know, those efforts, that there are efforts being made to disparage opponents in the current administration. And I get that. It's totally politics. No problem. Dealt with it. Did the whole thing 2 years ago, totally understand. But I want to make one thing clear. Attacks on city employees in public meetings and on social media are not only beyond inappropriate and false, but they are plain out and out lies. And although I refuse to lower myself to get on the Facebook and on social media because I just think it's the devil, I will not remain silent anymore when our employees are being disparaged. And I support all of our employees from Parker. I support our staff 100%. They do an amazing job for this city. And some of these people work anywhere from 10 to 14 hours a day. They've done an exceptional job in the last 2 years that I've personally worked with them. And their loyalty to Parker, their integrity, and their hard work are acknowledged and appreciated. I also want to make note that during the minutes from February 7th on the 23rd, Ms. Rosso stated that she was not given an extension for code enforcement notice on her grass. And I wanted on the record that Ms. Heinrich did give her an extension from January 3rd to the 17th. And this was also mentioned by Ms. Rosso herself during the January 17th council meeting. I just want to make it clear that the people that work at this city work their butts off, and they don't deserve being caught in the middle of this politics. And that's all I have to say.
And I have no.
No ma'am, 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 you're not,
You're
we're,
twisting the truth.
we're not,
Okay.
do you have anything?
No, ma'am.